Okay, so now that we understand how the inside of the cube is oriented, now we're going to go ahead and start solving it. And this is a beginner's method for solving the Rubik's Cube, but it is kind of specifically designed so that if you really get into the Rubik's Cube and you want to get faster, and let's say, for example, you want to get down, down to like that 20-30 seconds, the really impressive times, this method will allow you to progress on without having to make major changes. You can kind of stick with it and add to this method as you get better, just kind of add algorithms to it to take it from the beginner method for solving it to really becoming like a really excellent speed cuber. So what we're going to do is solve the cube in 3 layers. So we're going to choose a first layer. We're going to solve that. You'll see that there are 8 pieces to put in place. So that's the 4 corners, and then there are 4 edge pieces. I personally solve for the blue side first, but I know that it's much more common that people in general tend to go for the white first. So I'm going to do the white side first for this particular video. It would be recommended that you pick a color, even if it's not white, but you pick one color just for consistency's sake. Just makes it easier for you to recognize things because it's more consistent. You're looking for the same thing all the time. And I'll show you more of what that means when we get to the later videos and some of the more complicated algorithms. In general, I don't think most people even really consider the first layer to have algorithms. You just kind of put pieces in any way that you can, and there are quite a few ways that you can do that. But just to remind you, ultimately, I'm focused on this centerpiece. So when I first look at the cube and I'm deciding what my first moves are going to be, I'm looking for the center of the color that I want to solve first. So in this case, I would be looking for white. Now on any given cube, it would be very likely that there will be some pieces already in place. So you can see that these 2 pieces are already in place. Now, there are generally 2 schools of thought. Some people go for the cross and some people go for the corners. Probably more common that people go for the cross, but in order to go for the cross, you really have to know the relationship between the faces. So for example, the red and the orange centers are opposite each other, right? And now that's not hard to understand. You can put the red and orange opposite each other and just spin the thing around and it will line up. But then when you start thinking about the other centers, the green and the blue, it really makes a difference. If I'm facing the orange, the blue will be on my left side. But if I'm facing the red, then the blue will be on my right side. So you really need to learn the orientation of those to make that method go quickly. I tend to focus on the corners, but honestly, at this point, most of the time, I just put any pieces in that I can get to go in and don't really worry about whether they're corners or edges. If I see a piece and I know where it's supposed to go, I just put that piece in. So looking at the cube right now, I have one corner in place. That corner is white, and then I have the red and the green edge. So I'm going to look for one of those 2 corner pieces. There's another white and red that goes over here, and there's a white and green that belongs over here. So I'm going to look for those pieces, and I can find, for example, here's the other white and green piece. So just to remind you, here's the one that's already in place, and here's the other one. So if you can visualize, I'm going to turn this piece so that it comes directly underneath the spot that it belongs with. And I think that if you just look at these 2 pieces, you can see how just simply rotating it like this will bring that guy up and line him up correctly with the other corner. So now I have the white and red corner, which belongs here, and then the last one is going to be the white and orange corner that's going to go over here. I'm going to look for that white and orange corner, and in this particular case, it turns out to be directly under that spot. It's already perfectly oriented for me, so I'm just going to simply turn that guy up, and I now have 3 corners in place. So at least 5 pieces. These 4 I should say, and then also this one is in the wrong place, so we're going to move him to the correct place. This should be the white and the red to match up with this corner. But at this point, I cannot turn any more pieces up without losing stuff that I already have. So here is my last white corner, and you can see that I can turn it up and it matches perfectly, but then I've lost the other corner that I already had. So I can't just move that up directly. So the basic principle behind how this works is that I'm going to keep this first layer intact, and I'm going to use my free layers. So the middle layer and the last layer, these are my 2 free layers, and I really don't care what happens to them. They're going to continue to be mixed up as I am working my solve on the first layer. So the way that I would approach this one is, in this case, the white could be on either of these 2 sides, or it could be down here. In this case, it's on the left side. I have it matched up. I'm directly under the spot where I want this guy to go. And in order to put him in place, since the left side is facing out, I'm going to move it to the left. That puts him out of the way. So now that guy is safely over here so that when I turn this down, he doesn't move. He stays exactly where I left him. I'm going to turn this down. I'm going to pull him into place, and I'm going to send him back up. So my daughter refers to this as putting it on the elevator. So just to repeat that move, I lined it up directly under the spot so I can see where it's going to go. I'm going to move him out of the way. I'm going to bring the elevator down, put him on the elevator, and then send him back up. So now I have all 4 of the corners for the white layer are in place. So now it's just a matter of looking for those 4 edge pieces and trying to put them in place. So here's one of the edge pieces that I need. Here's the white and the blue, and it just happens to be in the perfect position to put it in place. So here's where it belongs, right? Here's the white and blue, right? The white and blue, and so the white and blue edge piece should be right here. There's only one white and blue edge piece. So it's right there over here on this side, and it's in the perfect place because I can just do this, obviously, and that puts the blue in place, but then I've lost my 2 corners. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to move it out of the way. I'm going to pull it over here to the side. I'm going to pull that down. I'm going to slide that piece into place, and then I'm going to send that guy back up. And so now that guy is in place. Looking at some of the other orientations, so let's take a look at the white and the red. So if you look at the white and red, he's upside down to the white layer. He's down here on the yellow layer. So he's upside down. I'm going to find where he belongs. He belongs right here between the white and red corners. So I'm going to slide him over so he's directly underneath. So in order to put this guy in place, this is like a little more abstract to think about. I'm actually going to move the middle layer down and just think for a second where this piece is moving to. As I pull it down like this, that white and red piece has gone from here to the underside, and now it's on the back side over here. I'm just going to turn it for a second so you can see where he is. There he is right there. There's that white and red piece. So I push that middle layer down, and now all I'm going to do is pull that all the way around. I'm going to make a full turn. Now he lines up with his centerpiece, and I send that guy right back up. Send the elevator right back up. Here's another one. This is in the exact same orientation. So the white side is facing down. So I'll move it over so it's directly underneath the spot where it belongs. I'm going to move this down. I'm going to spin this all the way around. And then I'm going to send that guy back up. So now he's in place. So we looked at the last 2 moves. We looked at a situation where the white was actually facing down. Now I have one where the white is facing out. So I have 2 options for how I can do that. I could leave it exactly where it is. Here's white and orange. And the white and orange piece belongs right here, right between the white and orange corners. And I can leave it where it is right here and just simply pull this down, move this into place, and then I can send that guy back up. I'm going to move him back to where he was. An alternative way that I could do it is I could line him up directly underneath like I did for the other pieces, but instead of pushing the middle layer down, which is going to put this piece in the wrong orientation, instead what I'm going to do is turn this guy sideways. And I think you can see there's the white and orange piece, and here's the white and orange corners. I can just slide him into place. So I put him on the elevator, and I send him right back up. So those are most of the moves. You are likely to have an edge piece that's on the side like this. You move it out of the way, pull the piece down, put him on the elevator, send him back up. An alternative is you have the piece on the bottom layer with this layer facing out, and there are 2 ways that you can do that. You can pull this down, put it in place, and send it back up. Or alternatively, you can just line it up directly underneath the spot where it belongs, turn it to the side, and then you can see how that piece will go right into place, and you send that guy back up. The last one is this situation where the white is, instead of facing out or being on the middle layer, it's actually on the bottom layer, but it's upside down. And that's a really easy one to deal with because you're just simply going to push the middle layer down. You're going to spin him all the way around, and then you're going to send him back up. If we look at the corners, there's a couple of ways that you can handle the corners, but the most common thing is that you put it in the right orientation. Right? So this guy belongs in this empty spot right here. Here's my empty spot. Here's the white corner that belongs there. In this case, I have the white facing on my left side, so I'm going to move it to the left out of the way. I'm going to pull that down, put it in place, and send it back up. I can do the same thing going in the other direction too. So here's the same corner, but now it's the white side is facing on the right. So instead of moving it to the left to get out of the way, I'm going to move it to the right. And instead of turning this face to bring that empty spot down, I'm going to bring the other way. I'm going to bring it down this way, put him into place, and send him back up. So this is the basic principle. The first few pieces, you can just pull them up. you can just bring those pieces up to their center. That's typically going to be good for at least probably 3 pieces. But once you get to 3 or 4 pieces, you're no longer going to be able to just turn pieces up. You're going to have to use this technique of coming down to your free layers, your middle layer and your last layer, and using those two to position the piece in such a way that when you put it into place, you can use the free layers to put him in place down on the free layers, and then you send him back to the upper layers. So this is something you really want to practice a lot before you even start to move on to the next layer. You really should be able to get this first layer. All these edges need to be correct and matched up with each other. And I feel reasonably you need to be able to do this in about a minute to minute and a half before you really want to start thinking about the next layer, which will, of course, will be the middle layer. So once you've gotten to the point where you're down around a minute and a half of getting the first layer, you can consistently do it, you're starting to be able to visualize it, then it's going to be easier for you to move on to the next algorithm on the middle layer.